Hi everybody, it's Richard again here from Electric Classic Cars and welcome to another episode. This time we're going to do part one of the Testarossa to Teslarossa journey, where we're going to be converting one of these beauties, one of four actually, we've got two in at the moment, and we're going to be converting them to electric using a Tesla motor. So what we want to do in this first video is kind of give you an idea of what we do to the vehicles before we get to the dropping out the dirty, smelly stuff, if you like. Because what we don't want to do is convert a vehicle like this, or any vehicle really, and then drive it when it's electric, and then start thinking, oh, the steering's a bit weird, or there's a rumble on the back. Was that there before? So what we need to do is take these vehicles out and just kind of like snag them or make a list of anything that we have found when it's actually petrol before we convert them. And the other thing we do as well is we've got to corner weight it. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to take this glorious 1980s supercar out for a spin, fill it up with fuel first because I think it's pretty empty, and just drive it, see how it drives, and then at the end of it we'll corner weight it so that we want to be at the position where we're then going to start dropping everything out and starting that electrification journey. So follow me as we take one of these out. I'm going to take this one out today and go out for a spin. So get the right keys. Oh, the keys are actually in it, actually. Right, beautiful Ferrari gated shifter there. Looking forward to using that today. So that's driven about a week ago, so it does drive, I know that. Oh, it's a heavy clutch. Right, let's fire up the beast. Oh, or not, as the case may be. Try that again. Nope. What's going on here? Nope. A flat battery, is it? Ah, the joys of classic car ownership. Right, let's check the 12-volt battery. I think it's in the front. You can get this problem when it's electric, that's for sure. It's one of the best things about converting a car to electric is reliability. So I'm going to start using them as a daily driver. 12-volt battery. Oh, there's lucky. Is there another one over there? What's in there? Must just be two. No, there's nothing in there. Okay, let's get my meter. I think it's just a 12-volt battery. It'll be funny if it is this, because we're converting a car to electric and the electric is the problem in the first place. 12-volt battery, what are we down to? 11.4. Okay, not too low, but probably too low to fire over the starter motor. Right, jump leads. Let's grab another 12-volt battery and get some jump leads. Right, let's stick that on there. Okay, let's give it a go. If it cranks over first. Yeah, okay, it's definitely the battery then. Right, let's fire her up. Oh, fire in the hole! Yay! The noisy thing is alive! Right, let's take this off. I promise you, I did not stage this. This is exactly what happened. So, and it reminds me of one of the reasons why I actually got into electrification of classic cars in the first place, because you wanted to go out on a lovely day out, and all of a sudden something like this happens. And this was only working like 2 weeks ago, fine. So, yeah, all working now though. So let's go out for a spin. Let's put this back down. Right, I'm going to leave it for about 5 minutes now just to warm it up, because one thing I do know about Ferraris is the gearbox is horrible when they're cold, and you need a bit of heat transfer to come from the engine into the gearbox to just make it nice and slick and smooth when you're changing. So I'm just going to let that engine warm up, and it's a good thing that an engine warms up anyway before you start driving them. So I'll let that warm up for 5 minutes, tidy away the jump leads, and then we'll go out for a spin. It was going so well. I was just working on the car over there and it just died. It was warming up lovely and it started to hunt. The revs were just going, and then it just went, died. So I'm pretty sure there's fuel in it. Yeah, it was a quarter of a tank. So there's definitely fuel in it. So, great. Jump leads again. Joy. Well, the sooner this is electric, the better. Right, battery again. This is why I convert cars to electric. Right, I've got it going again now, second time, and I can hear the revs dropping again. So I'm going to take it out, just keep the revs up, and go and fill it with fuel. I've got a spare battery and jump leads in the car just in case it happens again. Oh, it's dying. So let's go out for a spin. Oh, nearly. Right, let's go out for a spin. Right, after that kerfuffle, we finally got it on the road. Everything looks fine, so oil pressure's good, engine temperature's coming up, and the sound of this engine, listen to this. Oh, I do like that. I tell you what, might miss that a bit when it's electric, but then again it's replaced with so many other things, like the reliability and better performance and better handling and stuff. I thought, you know, when I converted one of my first cars many years ago, I'd miss the noise of an engine, because, you know, I'm into Beetles and Porsches, and having a open like trumpet Delorto or Weber car Porsche, it's a special sound. But then within about 5 minutes, you know, I completely forgot about the noise. And it's because it's replaced with everything else. It's just easier to drive, and the power delivery, it's fantastic. And now I've got a Focus RS right up my chuff, pushing me along. He's desperate to have a race, but this car's not mine, so I'm going to just let him go, I think. Apologies for the close-up shot of my head, but it's a little bit cramped in here, and Tim behind the camera, he's over 6 foot, and to say it's a bit snug is an understatement. So one thing I've noticed on this, the clutch is really heavy. So I'm just putting it into 5th gear then. I tell you what, in traffic, that would get old quickly. So that's obviously going to go. We're going to keep the iconic Ferrari gated shifter, but we're just going to use that as kind of a forward and a reverse selector. So, because I really want to keep that as an iconic part of a Ferrari. So that's going to stay, just turning it into a forward and reverse selector switch. But the clutch is definitely going to go, thank God. They say you shouldn't drive the cars of your childhood dreams, because this, along with the Lamborghini Countach, was kind of the poster cars of my childhood. And having driven the Lamborghini Countach, I was sorely disappointed. It was just not a very nice car to drive. The driving position was horrible, and like the handling was woeful. But I'm pleased to say this is a lot better. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a lot better than the Countess, that's for sure. One thing I've noticed actually is the brake pedal and the accelerator are really close together, so you kind of need racing shoes, if you like. I mean, I've got slim feet, and a number of times I put my foot on the brake and I've actually touched the accelerator at the same time, so that might be something we put on the list to see if we can move the brake a little bit further over to the left, because we're not going to have a clutch in the future, just to give it a little bit more of a safety factor that you're not going to be touching the accelerator every time you put your foot on the brake. Right, I need to fill it with fuel because I'm going to put some good miles on this car today. And we're just, I'd say about 1/8 of a tank. So it'll be interesting to see how much we put in. How much is it going to cost, you reckon? It's going up now. It's going up. The joys of a petrol gauge, eh? So it's just under a quarter now. When I was driving along, it was touching the 0. Okay, right, let's fill it up and see how much it costs. And hope it starts. It's been a while since I've done this. When's it going to stop? I can't remember the last time I filled up a car with petrol. It's a long time ago, I tell you. 60 quid. £70 quid. What? How much does it take? 80 quid. Is that right? Just check there's no fuel coming out underneath, mate. Is it just like going in and coming out underneath the floor or something? Jesus, it's 100 quid now. It's 100 quid. I've no idea. 152 a litre. £112. That's nuts. So 112 quid, and it was just under a quarter. So what's that? So you're talking about 60, say, nearly 140 quid for a full tank. 140 quid for a full tank. That's nuts. Now I'm actually on the twisty stuff. I'm actually starting to feel the kind of balance of the car, and I gotta say, I think it's a little bit light on the front. It'll be interesting to see when we get back to the workshop, when we get on the corner scales. So I think we're a little bit too light on the front because it's a bit understeery if you start pushing it. Right, I've been driving for about half an hour now. Glorious car, but I need a little bit of rest. It's a bit like having a workout in a gym, this car. It's very analog and like engaging, which is fantastic, but I've got sweaty armpits and I definitely need a rest for my left foot because the clutch is so heavy in this thing. But, you know, this is it's a 1988 Ferrari Testarossa, 4.9 litre mid-engine sort of like configuration. It's got it's a V12, but in a flat configuration. It's not actually a flat 12 cylinder because the firing order is different. It's actually a V12 in a flat configuration. But my first impression of it, I actually really like it. Unlike the Countess that I drove years ago, this handles better, but it's definitely know that it's a 40-year-old supercar when you start to push it, because it understeers a little bit. I have a feeling that it's going to be really light on the front when we get it on these scales back in the workshop. But I mean, just look at it. It's just awesome. It's just pure 1980s styling. I mean, the scoops down here are just awesome. My honest opinion is this angle is the best angle. So if you come around here, I think this corner angle is the best. So if you get around there, Tim, and you see all the sort of like fins, sculpted scallops or whatever you want to call them, it's just, there's not many supercars that look good from the rear three-quarter. Most of them look good from the front, and then, I don't know, some designers just get to the back and kind of like, yeah, that'll do. But this car looks fantastic from this angle, I think. Let me open up the engine bay and have a look inside there. Oh, I can feel the heat coming off. It's lovely, nice and warm. There she blows. So that is a 4.9 litre Ferrari V12 in a flat configuration engine, and the gearbox is kind of like just underneath, because the engine kind of sits on top of where the drive shafts come out, which is quite strange really. But it's a glorious engine, sounds fantastic. It got a little bit old after about 20 minutes, the noise, but I think I've just been spoilt by electric for so long now. But it's going to be a lot of space in there when that comes out, that's for sure. So it's the last gasp with this engine. So back to the workshop, I think, now, and let's get it on the scales. Some would say that if you take an engine out of a Ferrari, you're essentially, taking the life and soul out of a Ferrari. Ferrari is all about the engine. It's nothing without the engine. And I totally get that and respect that. But I think you're doing a serious disservice to Ferrari by saying that, because, it's not just about the engine. Yeah, that's an important part of it, granted. But, I mean, the styling of a Ferrari, the handling of a Ferrari, just the look and feel from the interior, everything makes up a Ferrari, and the engine is just part of that, an important part of it, don't get me wrong, but it's a part of the overall car. And I'm not trying to do anything other than allow people to enjoy these cars on a regular basis, and I certainly wouldn't want to drive this regularly, because it's not the sort of car to drive regularly from just a practicality point of view. I mean, the clutch is heavy, the steering is really heavy, and the service costs alone. I mean, people say you've got to account for around about $3,500 a year just to keep these things on the road and in tip-top condition. With electric drivetrain, obviously, there's no maintenance, and a lot easier to drive. For me, it's a little bit like taking an old cottage in the Chilterns and replacing the old coal fireplaces everywhere and the drafts and stuff, and just replacing it with a modern central heating system. It just makes it easier to live with and more enjoyable on a day-to-day basis. Oh, that's quieter. Right, you gotta have a look at some of the 1980s stuff in here, mate. Imagine 1980s, like some cool-looking Italian slick-back hair supermodel girlfriend in the passenger seat. It's definitely designed for that, because you've got a cigarette lighter here, you've got an ashtray there. Where is it? Ashtray there. and another one for the lady over there. Then you've got the glove box here. Check out this glove box. Oh, look at that for a mirror. Huge. You got a lovely mirror there, full like face mirror. You got your cool looking Ferrari stereo with all your tapes. But where are the tapes, you ask? Well, check out this. All the kids are going to go, what are they? Look at that. It's where all your music was kept. Ding! There's your tapes in there. Fantastic. That reminds me of the 1980s big time. But there's loads of buttons in here which I don't actually understand what they are. So comments below, please. What on earth are these things here? I don't know what these symbols actually do or what they mean. And yeah, if anybody can tell me, let me know. Save me Googling that. But very 1980s. And talking about 1980s, if you ever wondered what happened to Michael Jackson's costume in Thriller, look no further than these seats. Check out these seats. Or Cameo. There you go. Do you remember Cameo as well? Anybody that's not as old as I am, just Google Michael Jackson Thriller or Cameo word up, and you'll find out where these seats came from. So there you go. That's a good day out. I've had a workout. So now it's time to weigh it. So let's get the corner scales out. Definitely need some oil on that hinge. But I think before I forget, I'm just going to snag some things out. Definitely needs a new 12-volt battery because every time, luckily we took that spare 12-volt battery with us. Every time we stopped, we had to get the jump leads out and start it again. So new 12-volt battery is required. Started to hear a knock on that rear CV joint at the back there, so need one of those. And I think that was it. Was there anything else? Can you remember, Tim?
No, other than that, it's pretty good.
That was it, was it? Oh, and power steering. Definitely needs power steering. Right, so I'm going to write that down on the board before I forget, and then we'll get the scales out and let's get it corner weighted. Right, let's have a look. How much is the weights? So what we got here, we got a corner scale system. So we've got a set of scales on each wheel, a bit like a bigger version of your bathroom scales, if you like. So we can actually measure how much each corner of the vehicle is weighing, which also then totals up to how much the front is versus the back, and then the total itself. So what we got? So we've got a total weight of 1650 kilos. We got around about 3/4 of a tank, so which is a good example. So 1650 kilos. On the front left, we've got 340 kilos. Front right, we've got 350 kilos. So that's 690 kilos on the front. And on the rear right, we've got 484 kilos. And on the, the left rear, we've got 484 kilos. On the right rear, we've got 476. So 690 kilos on the front, divided by 1650. So it's around about 42% weight on the front and 58% on the rear, which is what I thought it was feeling like on the road. I felt it was a little bit lighter on the front when I was turning into corners aggressively, let's say, and you wouldn't normally do that on the road. So there's scope to get a little bit more weight up front when we electrify it, just to improve the neutrality of the weight distribution, if you like. But if we do this, we're definitely going to have to go with power steering, because at the moment the steering is really heavy, especially when you're parking it. So we're putting a little bit more weight over the front axle. Power steering is essential, not just a nice have. So I think that's it for today's video. It's been a real blast going out in this thing. A blast from the past, if you like. I mean, pros and cons wise, I mean, I loved the feel driving this. Handling was actually surprisingly good. Nice amount of power. I'd say out of the Lamborghini Countach and the Ferrari Testarossa, which was the 1980s supercar, so like king and queen, if you like, I think the Ferrari Testarossa wins for me. because of the handling side of things and the whole comfort level when you're driving it. A Lamborghini Countach was just an awkward place to be when you were driving it. So pros, fantastic car, loved it. The noise of the engine was lovely. I liked that. I think if I was doing a long journey, I'd probably wear ear defenders because the awesome noise when you're accelerating and going up through the revs is great. But when you're holding it at constant revs, cruising, it's more of a drone. And doing a long journey, I'd probably wear Ferrari's like logoed ear defenders. On the con side of things, power was okay, but obviously it's going to be improved when it's electric. Handling wise, I think we're going to improve electric wise as well. The clutch was awfully heavy. So in traffic, for instance, it was. I wouldn't want to drive this on the M25 in rush hour traffic. I think I would get cramp in my left leg. And we've had a couple of little quirky reliability issues today. We haven't filmed it all, but every single time we stopped, I had to get the jump leads out again. So that 12-volt battery is definitely dead, which kind of spoiled a little bit the joy of it today. But overall, really enjoyed it. Had a real shock when I filled it up with fuel at the start. I mean, wow, it's been a long time since I've filled up. So over 100 pounds of fuel, and the miles per gallon in this is atrocious. I'll have to calculate it out later, but I think this might even be single figure miles per gallon, because you could literally see the fuel gauge going down and down and down every time you were just putting your foot down, and that's no joke. So great car, loved it. We've got the corner weights now, so I'm going to write these on the whiteboard over there, which is the project board for this car. And I think the next video, you're going to see it with the engine and gearbox and all the dirty, smelly stuff out. And we're going to re-corner weight it, because then we can figure out then where we're going to put battery packs, how big a battery pack we can put on the front axle, how much we're going to put in the rear, where the motors and all the ancillaries like the chargers and DC to DC converters are going. So I think that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to let me know what those buttons do in that center console, because they're confusing the heck out of me. And I'll see you on the next video.